Steve Harvey style, bold, truthful, soul shaking. Let's talk real for a minute. If he's always on your mind, but he ain't talking to you, baby, that silence speaks louder than any sweet word he ever said. You ever been in that space where no matter what you're doing, working, cleaning, out with your friends, his name shows up in your mind like an unwanted pop-up aid. It's like your thoughts got hijacked. And no matter how much you try to delete the memories, they keep reinstalling themselves. Let me tell you something, that's not love. That's your heart holding onto a chapter that should have been closed. When someone is constantly on your mind and they're not even putting in the bare minimum to check on you, care for you, or even acknowledge you, it means this: you're feeding an emotional ghost. You're investing energy into someone who's already spiritually checked out. But you know what's worse than them not calling? You're still hoping that one day they will. That's what's got you trapped. Not the man. Not the memory. It's hope without evidence. And that right there is dangerous. I ain't saying you're weak. You're human. Sometimes your heart just ain't caught up with what your eyes already see. You see the silence. You see the absence. But your heart keeps replaying the moments when he did show up, did say the right thing, did make you feel wanted. But girl, what's he doing now? If a man is on your mind constantly but isn't in your life, it's time to ask yourself one powerful question. What part of me is still looking for validation from someone who already walked away? Because here's the truth. Sometimes we confuse connection with addiction. You ain't in love. You're addicted to what could have been. That's why you feel him when you wake up. That's why his name pops up in songs. That's why you feel like maybe, just maybe, he's thinking about you too. But let me hit you with something real. God don't keep you up at night for someone who ain't losing sleep over you. If it's keeping you anxious, distracted, and in your head, it's not alignment, it's a warning. You gotta stop feeding your spirit on potential and start healing on reality. The man you imagine in your mind might be beautiful, charming, even the all, but the man who isn't showing up in your life, he ain't the one who deserves that mental space. Your thoughts are sacred real estate. Why are you letting someone rent it for free when he ain't even paying attention? Listen to me. You are not crazy for thinking about him. You're just attached to a version of him that never fully showed up. And baby, that's not your fault. But it is your responsibility to let go. When a man really values you, he won't let silence do the talking. He'll show up, he'll call, he'll make it known. Because real love is loud. It's clear, it's consistent. So if he's on your mind and he ain't in your life, don't let the daydreams fool you. Instead, ask yourself, what would happen if I put all this energy back into MME? Because the moment you do, you'll realize something powerful. He wasn't on your mind because you missed him. He was on your mind because you were missing yourself in that relationship. And once you come back to YOU, his silence won't haunt you, it'll free you. Now go reclaim your peace, because a quiet man who left a loud presence in your life was never meant to stay. Let's stop sugarcoating it. When a man stays on your mind day after day, even though he's not in your life, it's deeper than simply missing him. This isn't just about remembering the laughs, the kisses, the inside jokes. It's about the weight of what was never said, the questions that still echo in your chest, and the quiet longing that maybe, just maybe, he still thinks about you too. You're not crazy. You're not weak. What you're experiencing is the ache of emotional limbo. He may be gone in presence, but he's still very much alive in your thoughts because something within you remains open. An emotional tab you never got the chance to close. That's why it's hard to move on. That's why he shows up in your dreams, in your playlists, in the silence of your car rides. Not because the bond was stronger than anything else in the world, but because the ending wasn't clear. And your heart still believes there's more to the story. Unresolved feelings are like open wounds. You might be functioning, smiling, laughing even. But deep down, something stings when you hear his name. Maybe you never got to say what you truly felt. Maybe he left without giving a real reason. Maybe it ended in confusion, in silence, in a space where you were left to guess how he truly felt. And now, you're stuck replaying every moment, looking for answers between the lines of his last message or the last time you saw him. This isn't about love, it's about lack. Lack of closure, lack of understanding, lack of peace. And that lack has a way of making your mind circle around the same memories, the same moments, like a loop you can't escape. It's the unfinished business that ties your thoughts to someone who's no longer showing up for you. And then there's the silent hope. That tiny part of you, no matter how healed you claim to be, that still wonders if he thinks about you, if he regrets it, if he checks your social media, if he meant what he said. It's a hope you rarely speak out loud because it feels foolish, but it lives in you. That hope keeps him alive in your mind, even when logic tells you to let go. It's not that you're holding on to him. You're holding on to the version of him that loved you. The version that made you feel seen, wanted, and safe. And letting go of that version feels like letting go of a piece of yourself. But here's the truth. If he really cared, if he truly wanted to stay, he would have made the effort. Silence is an answer. Distance is a message. And if you're the only one still mentally revisiting the relationship while he's gone radio silent, that says more than any words he could offer. You don't need to keep trying to find meaning in the silence, because silence is the meaning. You're not still thinking about him because you're in love. You're thinking about him because you were left holding all the weight while he walked away. You were left with the questions, the emotions, the flashbacks. And that's heavy. No wonder your mind won't let it go. It's still trying to figure out what happened. But at some point, you've got to realize that closure doesn't always come in the form of an apology or a final conversation. Sometimes closure is choosing yourself, even when you never got the answers you deserved. It's deciding that you won't let his silence echo louder than your self-worth. It's realizing that the pain you feel isn't just about him. It's about how you were left. And that hurt deserves healing, not haunting. The moment you stop needing him to explain, to validate, to make it right, that's when you start to take your power back. So yes, if he's always on your mind, it means you've still got some healing to do. It means your heart hasn't caught up with the truth your soul already knows. But it doesn't mean you're stuck forever. It means you're human. You felt something real. But now it's time to feel something even deeper, peace. Because no man, no memory, no silence is worth your mental freedom. You can release him without waiting for him to return. You can find peace without him saying a word. And you can move forward, even if your heart still occasionally looks back. Let's be real. Just because a man hasn't picked up the phone, sent a text, or checked in lately doesn't always mean he's completely gone from your world. Some people have a way of lingering in your life without being physically present. He's still in your mind, still in your heart, still in your memories. And every day that goes by without a word from him, his absence speaks just a little louder. Now, here's the trap. You might start to convince yourself that the silence means something mysterious or deep. That maybe he's thinking of you too. That maybe he's just giving you space. That maybe he's struggling or scared or unsure. And before you know it, you've built an entire narrative around why he's not calling, instead of facing the truth that he's choosing not to. The problem isn't always that he's gone. The problem is that he left a presence so heavy that even in his silence, he still takes up space in your life. And if you're being honest with yourself, you're not just missing him. You're noticing the weight of what's no longer being given to you. Because the reality is this: when someone cares, they show up, not with perfect words, not with grand gestures, but with presence, consistency, effort. You don't have to wonder if they're coming back or if they're thinking about you, because their actions confirm what their silence never could. But when the silence becomes routine, when the love feels more like a memory than a movement, that's your red flag. You might be sitting there thinking, well, he used to be different. He used to call every morning. He used to check in just to hear my voice. And yes, people grow and relationships change. But what doesn't change is someone's intention. When a man stops calling, stops reaching, stops making room for you in his daily life, he's telling you something, whether he says it out loud or not. And I know, it's hard to accept, because maybe you had real feelings. Maybe you still do. Maybe you're trying to hold on to the good parts, the tender moments, the promises. But here's the hard truth. If his absence is louder than the love you felt when he was present, then that love was not as solid as you thought. Sometimes we confuse history with destiny. Just because someone was there for a season doesn't mean they're meant for the next one. And just because they're not calling doesn't mean their memory has any right to hold you hostage. So why is his silence so loud? Because it's the contrast. It's the way he once made you feel secure, now replaced with uncertainty. It's the way your phone used to light up, now it's just quiet. It's how your heart still waits for something, even when logic tells you not to. That silence becomes the evidence of everything that's shifted, and that shift hurts. But pain is information, and you've got to learn how to read it. If you're sitting in a space where your love feels unanswered, if your energy is being poured into someone who isn't meeting you halfway, that's not love, that's longing. And longing will starve your soul if you don't check it. Don't romanticize someone's emotional absence. Don't let your heart normalize inconsistency, because a man who truly values you will not let distance do the talking. He'll call. He'll show up. He'll make it known that even on his worst days, you still matter. You deserve that kind of love. The kind that doesn't hide behind silence. The kind that doesn't leave you guessing. The kind that shows up day after day, because your heart is not a halfway house for uncertain men. So here's what you do with that silence. You stop waiting for it to break. You stop hoping it will turn into words. And instead, you listen to what it's already telling you. His silence is not mysterious. It's not a puzzle for you to solve. It's a message, one you have to be brave enough to receive. Because at the end of the day, love doesn't whisper through absence. It speaks boldly through presence. And if the loudest thing in your relationship is the quiet between you, then that's not love talking. That's your cue to walk. Let's take a moment and speak truth to the soul. Just because he's constantly on your mind doesn't mean he's your soulmate. That persistent loop playing in your thoughts might not be destiny trying to reunite you. It could be your spirit trying to free you. We often mistake obsession for fate. When someone lingers in our mind, days, weeks, even months after they've gone silent, we start to believe it's a sign, a spiritual signal, a gut feeling that he's the one or that the story isn't over. But sometimes that feeling is less about connection and more about unresolved baggage. Sometimes your mind isn't trying to tell you he's meant to come back. It's trying to beg you to let go. You see, your spirit knows when something is no longer serving you. But if your heart is still attached, it'll fight that truth. It'll hold on to anything. A memory, a moment, a maybe, just to avoid the grief of releasing someone you once gave your all to. That's why he's still on your mind. Not because he belongs in your future, but because you haven't released him from your past. It's easy to confuse the constant mental replay with love. You think about his smile, his voice, the way he used to hold you, and it feels like he's still a part of you. But let's not ignore the heaviness that comes with it. If every thought of him comes with pain, confusion, or longing, then that's not your spirit saying, hold on. That's your spirit saying, this is what's holding you down. Sometimes the thoughts are just reminders of wounds that haven't healed. You're thinking about what was left unsaid, undone, unfinished. You're going back and forth, wondering what you could have done differently, what he might be thinking, if there's still a door left open somewhere. But every time you go back in your mind, you reopen the same emotional wound that's trying to scab over. Here's the hard truth. If he was meant to stay, he would have. If he was part of your divine path, he'd be walking beside you, not haunting your thoughts like a shadow. The universe isn't cruel. It doesn't send signs through suffering. What you're calling a sign might just be your soul crying out for freedom from the cycle of hope and hurt. Let's break it down even further. Sometimes it's not him you're holding on to. It's the version of you that you were when you loved him. It's the feeling of being chosen, desired, seen. And now that he's gone, it feels like all of that left with him. That's why the thoughts persist, because you haven't fully reconnected with yourself. The obsession is trying to fill a gap inside you that only you can actually fill. But you don't need to carry his energy anymore. You don't need to hold space in your mind for someone who's not holding space for you. You don't need to keep interpreting silence as a message from the universe. Because real love, real alignment, it doesn't confuse you. It doesn't leave you overthinking. It doesn't feel like emotional quicksand. Your spirit doesn't want you to wait. It wants you to wake up. It wants you to reclaim the energy that's been leaking towards someone who no longer adds value to your peace. It wants you to return to yourself, not because you're bitter, not because you're broken, but because you've realized that heavy love is not healthy love. That replaying a man's memory is not the same as having a future with him. Thinking about him all the time is not destiny. It's a signal, a sign that you're still carrying emotional weight that's too heavy to bring into your next chapter. And the longer you carry it, the more it slows you down, the more it dims your light, the more it clutters your spirit. So don't just ask why he's always on your mind. Ask what you're meant to learn from that. Is it closure you need? Or is it courage? Is it love you're missing? Or the illusion of love? Is it truly about him? Or are you trying to avoid the deeper healing within yourself? When you stop romanticizing the mental loop and start seeing it for what it is, a call to let go, you'll finally begin to breathe again, to see clearly, to rise lighter. Because the peace you're looking for will never be found in the memory of someone who walked away. It will only be found in the release. You don't need his return to feel whole. You need your own return to the version of you that didn't carry him like a burden.